This summer, OnePlus launched its second flagship smartphone known as the OnePlus 2. Like its predecessor, the phone was designed as a high-end unlocked device sold at a low price to compete against flagship handsets produced by the likes of Samsung, LG, HTC, and other prominent smartphone manufacturers. So is the OnePlus 2 worthy of all the hype generated by OnePlus and its online community? How's it going, everybody? This is Matt D, and this is my full review of the OnePlus 2. The OnePlus 2 has a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS LCD display with a pixel density of 401 ppi. The phone has a 13-megapixel rear camera and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera. Below the screen, you'll find a fingerprint scanner that doubles as a capacitive home button whose functionality can be customized by the user. On the inside, the 2 is powered by the controversial Snapdragon 810 version 2.1 chipset by Qualcomm, featuring an Adreno 430 GPU. The 64GB model in this video includes 4 gigs of RAM, while a 16GB variant of the phone comes with 3 gigs of RAM. As for connectivity options available on the phone, the OnePlus 2 supports a wider range of LTE bands for both North America and Europe. But once again, if you haven't heard by now, there's no NFC on the device. On the right side of the phone, we'll find the power button as well as the volume rocker. Up top, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack. Looking at the left side rail, OnePlus has added a new alert slider that acts as a 3-way toggle for controlling notifications. At the bottom of the device, you'll find a USB Type-C charging port as well as the speaker. I like the fact that the new charging cable is reversible because of the new port, but USB Type-C has a long way to go before it becomes commonplace. Although the phone's 3300 mAh battery is sealed in, the OnePlus 2 comes with an easily removable back cover featuring the same sandstone black material that came on the OnePlus 1. In addition to the sandstone cover, OnePlus also offers 4 other style swap covers: bamboo, black apricot, Kevlar, and rosewood. Underneath the back cover, the OnePlus 2 has a dual SIM tray for a pair of nano SIMs from your preferred GSM mobile operators. Unlike the OnePlus X, the SIM tray of the OnePlus 2 does not support micro SD cards. But as a dual SIM phone, the OnePlus 2 does allow the user to choose which SIM cards handle calls, texting, and data. On the surface, Oxygen OS takes on the appearance of stock Android Lollipop. Out of the box, you're greeted with a customizable home screen and shortcuts to a variety of Google services. Unlike other Chinese Android skins, Oxygen OS features a horizontally scrolling app drawer, allowing the user to keep the OnePlus 2's home screen clean and organized. While stock Android gives the user access to Google Now at the leftmost home screen, OnePlus has added a new feature called Shelf. Similar to HTC's Blink feed, Shelf is a customizable panel that gives the user access to a variety of information at a glance. Shelf displays weather in your current location. In addition to that, Shelf features a section that hosts shortcuts to frequently used apps, as well as a section devoted to frequent contacts. Finally, you can also add multiple widgets to the Shelf as well. Swiping down from the top of the OnePlus 2's 5.5-inch screen brings you to the stock Android notification shade that displays a set of quick toggles above your usual app notifications. Oxygen OS gives you the power to customize the layout of the notification shade and modify the order in which those toggles are laid out. You even have the option to hide certain icons if you wish to do so. As with any device running Android Lollipop, you have the option to add additional guest users and access the settings menu with a simple tap on the notification panel. Another notable feature of the OnePlus 1 that was carried over to OnePlus's second flagship is a set of on-screen gestures. Just like what was built into Cyanogen software for the OnePlus 1, the OnePlus 2 has a double tap to wake gesture while you can draw an O to launch the camera, draw a V to launch the flashlight, and draw other gestures for music playback. I prefer to keep these turned off as I constantly found the flashlight activating on my OnePlus 1 when carrying that phone in my pocket. Before Google unveiled Android 6.0 Marshmallow to the world, OnePlus incorporated one of the biggest features of Google's latest software into Oxygen OS: app permissions. Similar to how Apple's iOS addresses how apps can access your information on the iPhone, this new feature of Oxygen OS allows you to determine what apps can and cannot access information stored on your OnePlus 2. For example, you can prevent an app from accessing your contacts, location, your calendar, or the phone's camera, among other things. As I mentioned previously, the OnePlus 2 has a 13-megapixel rear camera with an aperture of f2.0. The sensor also includes laser autofocus and optical image stabilization. As for video quality, the 2's rear camera will shoot video in up to 4K resolution. Within Oxygen OS, OnePlus has created its own camera app for its new Android skin. By swiping in from the left side of the screen, you'll have access to several features including time-lapse, slow-motion video, panorama, and even a manual shooting mode, giving you more granular control over the camera's settings when shooting still pictures. For example, in manual mode, the Oxygen OS camera app allows you to adjust ISO, exposure, and shutter speed, among other things. For those of you who care about benchmarks, I ran benchmarks on the OnePlus 2 using Geekbench, Antutu, and Quadrant. Using Geekbench, my phone received a single-core score of 1,231 and a multi-core score of 4,556. On Antutu, the phone received a score of 56,630. Finally, using Quadrant, the phone was given a score of 5,171. To test the OnePlus 2's cellular connectivity, I tested my unit on T-Mobile's network in the northern suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. After completing multiple speed tests, I had gotten download speeds ranging between 6.3 megabits per second and 55.21 megabits per second, along with upload speeds ranging between 1.47 and 31.55 megabits per second. In terms of battery life, I usually got a day to a day and a half out of each charge cycle with moderate usage. I spent most of my time using the device browsing the web, watching YouTube, and using a variety of other applications. My screen-on time typically ranged between 2 to 2.5 hours. Having used the OnePlus 2 for a few months, I feel that OnePlus has produced a good quality handset. The phone's display looks exceptionally good for one of 1080p resolution. Ever since OnePlus unveiled the phone to the public, members of OnePlus's online community were complaining about the fact that the company's 2016 flagship killer did not feature a Quad HD screen like those of the Samsung Galaxy S6 and LG G4. Personally, I'm glad that OnePlus included a 1080p display after hearing so many complaints about the Galaxy S6 and experiencing subpar battery life on Motorola's Google Nexus 6. In terms of performance, I have no complaints about the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 powering this device. When playing demanding games like Need for Speed Most Wanted and Sky Gambler's Air Supremacy, the phone did get a little warm, but I didn't notice any performance issues. Honestly, I think this whole thing about the 810 overheating has been totally blown out of proportion. My OnePlus 1 was piping hot after I finished watching the OnePlus 2 product launch on that phone. The other point of controversy for the OnePlus 2 is its lack of near-field communication technology. In my video comparison between both of OnePlus's flagship killers, I mentioned that there is one group that relies heavily on NFC for mobile payments and automation, and another group of people who hardly ever use NFC at all. It's been quite some time since I've used automation apps like Tasker, and I can count on one hand the number of times I've made use of mobile payment services. Instead of retailers and smartphone OEMs adopting one universal solution, Google, Apple, and other industry players have created their own mobile payment services. I don't know about the state of mobile payments elsewhere in the world, but from what I've observed, mobile payments don't seem to have become commonplace in the US. Until America's big box retailers and grocers adopt mobile payments, I don't think the average American will regularly make use of mobile payment options like Android Pay. It's going to take a lot to break a decades-old habit of pulling out a wallet and paying with plastic or cash. Overall, OnePlus has produced a high-quality smartphone capable of competing against the titans of the smartphone industry. Again, the display looks exceptionally good for a 1080p panel. Also, the speaker on this phone can produce a lot of volume despite the fact that it is mounted on the bottom of the device. When I pick up my OnePlus 2, the phone has the premium feel of a $700 flagship. Yet OnePlus is selling the 64GB model of this phone with 4 gigs of RAM for only $389 US. If you're looking for a good, powerful Android smartphone that gives you a lot of bang for the buck, I would certainly recommend the OnePlus 2. On the other hand, if you regularly make use of mobile payments and automation apps, the OnePlus 2's lack of NFC will be a deal breaker for you. The phone's other sore point for smartphone enthusiasts is the fact that the phone is not capable of quick charging or wireless charging. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up down below and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.